I want to get finance people, tax people, HR people, health and safety people, so that we can talk about some things that we need to polish up on in the industry.
Okay.
So anyway, that's the long and the short of it.
Good. And in the meantime, I just went live because I liked what you were saying. So.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even have Zoom open. You know that? I was trying to find the doc you shared with me.
And we're recording because what I've found through the 13 or 14 episodes I made, and I'm going to continue to make now, some of the best snippets came from this pre-talk.
The off the cuff, you might say.
The off the cuff, yes. Yeah. So I would do a lead. I would listen to it and pull the lead in, these little snippets, and then cut to the rest of the rest of the So that's how it goes. So if anyone's watching on Facebook, because I don't have my Facebook open. We've got Jonathan Grubb, obviously, Andy McCabe here. We are recording a podcast episode for Jonathan's new podcast. And I thought it would just be interesting to folks, if they had the time, they could kind of be a fly on the wall and see how these things are done. And you're going to be able to see, obviously, this, and then you're going to download the podcast and listen to it in your truck when you're driving to your next job. And I think it's going to be interesting. And I hope to encourage more folks to do this. There is, like Jonathan just said, before I hit record, there is a vacuum of content that people want to consume, audible content. Podcasts are making a major comeback because we're driving more, we're listening to more podcasts. It's just more consumable than video for 100 different reasons. But this is why you're watching us live on Facebook. But we're going to get serious here in a second. So
we are. It's almost like you're pretty good at this, Andy.
I might have done it once or twice.
Yeah, maybe you should get into podcasting or something.
I should totally look into that. I hear there's this cool podcast called the Claim Clinic. I should go download.
All right. So first, we're going to start with the fact that it's your birthday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I prepared a song. No, I have. I'm not.
Yeah, and no dancing. No.
But
dancing.
It's funny. I operate under the assumption that coincidences aren't a real thing. I don't believe in them.
Okay.
But you picked this day to do this initial podcast with me, and you are my first guest. So is it kind of ironic that we're going to be talking about the Andy McCabe story on your birthday?
Yeah, there's a couple layers of irony there. Serendipity.
I think so.
For all y'all in the audience, when Jonathan sent me an email and said, hey, I want to start a podcast, and I want you to be my first guest, and I want you to talk about yourself. And my response to you, John, was, wait a minute, you want me to come talk about myself? Well, of course, because that's my favorite thing to do.
I thought you'd be able to handle that.
Might be able to handle that. Then you didn't know this at the time. I didn't know this at the time, that the scheduling was going to work out in such a way that Jennifer Dosher and Dave Meyer flew from Wisconsin to see me. And I spent the last 2 days with them up at Tetherow Resort, which is a beautiful place, hammering home the rebel intent. What do we intend to do with the rebel movement that I've started? And through talking with them, and last night it kind of came to a head. I know when I caught the fever, and I'll tell that story. But yeah, it's awesome. The timing couldn't be better, and I'm with you, John. I think things happen when they should happen.
I totally agree. I heard your story back at the summit last August. So yep. August 2017, I think it was August 30th. And the way, so I'll briefly say the way that I found you. It was through a referral. Then I landed on your YouTube channel, and I started watching your videos. I spent an afternoon. I basically blew off work to sit and get the Andy McCabe experience. And I'd heard of you, but I didn't really, I didn't know what you were about. I didn't know how tall you were either until months later, but
I'm like 5'3" right now. Yeah.
You are.
You can tell.
I'm actually taller than you. But as I started watching your content, the message was exactly the reason I started my company. It was all the things, all the same frustrations, all the same motivations was what kind of gave me enough courage to leave the corporate world and in a cowboy kind of way start my own company. And so you were articulating all those things that we all thought, and that was very, very intriguing to me. I think my first LinkedIn message to you was, "We need to talk." And I think within 10 minutes we were on the phone with each other, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So, that's how it goes.
Right. And so it was, first I was shocked that you called me, and we probably spent, I don't know, 2 hours on the phone that first day, but we clearly understood, oh, we're on the same page here with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I remember it vividly. I was at my folks' house at the coast, pacing up and down, watching the ocean and listening to a fellow rebel. We didn't know we were rebels at the time. I don't believe. But we were just preaching to the choir, but it was so cathartic. It was like, oh, finally someone understands.
Right. Right. And can articulate the frustrations, not just complain about them.
Yeah.
But actually with this goal of solutions. Yes. What can we do to better this?
Yes. Let's stop complaining. Let's take some action. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But how did you get here? This isn't your first rodeo in restoration.
No.
You've been around a while.
I started, I didn't exactly grow up in the industry. It's not like I was running a truck mount before I was driving a car or anything like that. I stumbled into restoration. I think like a lot of folks do, they needed a job. They needed to figure out, they got to put food on the table. And there was this company hiring in Portland called Dow Columbia that they called themselves restoration contractors. And I said, well, I know contracting. My dad's a electrical contractor. I've spent a couple of years in an apprenticeship trade. I can do this. And they wanted a marketing guy. I had a marketing degree, so I just kind of fell into it. And then it was this weird moment of, what do you mean? There's all you do is insurance work. And there's an entire industry that's all they do is insurance work. They don't do anything else. And you're like, yeah. And come to find out over the years, it's $300 billion annually, that it's the quietest industry in the world that no one's heard of.
Right.
That's where I got started. They noticed pretty early on that I was savvy with computers. Came out of college. Microsoft Office came out my freshman year of college. And so Oregon State Business School pushed all the business students into this ecosystem of this new thing, Microsoft Office and Word. And I fancied myself a little bit of a computer programmer for about 2 quarters of 1 year of my college experience. So I know enough to be dangerous. I just had some acumen, right? We have these specific talents. So they said, well, this guy doesn't need to, we need to stop, and he doesn't need to do stop and drops with marketing to agents anymore. We need him to be estimating and running jobs. But before you can do that, at a company like Dow Columbia, you can't do that without being a technician first. Okay. And they said, you got to go get your training, go get WRT. Later on, if you prove yourself, you're going to go get ASD, and these are ASCR, formerly ASCI, now RIA certifications. Right. Went through that, worked up through the ranks, and just did paid my dues, as it were. And then I was estimating for several years. I bounced around. I don't want to go too deep into the how or the what. I think I will just say that I have a collection of, somebody somewhere has a collection of all my business cards, and it's a poster, probably 4 foot by 5 foot. I have worked a lot of different places. Yeah. And some of that is my choice, and some of that was not my choice. Yeah. So fast forward to 2000 and when was my son born? 2009. So fast forward to 2009. I'm running a branch office for a West Coast based restoration contractor. They had 10 offices at the time. My office did about $5.5 million my last year there. And I started doing some things less than exemplary employee behavior, and I got myself fired. And at that point, I had to find a job, so I jumped and I found the next closest job I could find with another restoration contractor in Portland, and they went bankrupt a year and a half later. I needed to find another job. So I found another job, a contractor based in Seattle. They had a Portland office. They thought they had space for me. Ends up they really didn't have space for me. That job lasted another year. So 3 years in a row, I am on the street looking for work.
Yeah. And how old are you at this point?
33, 34.
Wow. That's scary.
30. Yeah. I just turned 43 today, dude. I'm not quite there yet. Wow. 43. That's old. I was fortunate enough, though, in that time to find online folks like Brendan Burchard. Gary Vee wasn't doing his thing yet. He was doing Wine Library, obviously, but he's not what he's doing now. But I got plugged into this ecosystem of folks that were building businesses online that were this quote passive income stuff, and it was very fascinating to me. It's like, well, how do I do that? Because you can't get fired from that, right? You write a book, you can't get fired from your book. You just keep selling it.
Right.
And I also, that last job I had, the last job I've ever had, okay, I take that back because I had one more after that, and I'll tell you that story in a bit. They did consulting. They would go out for carriers and consult and do construction consulting opposite of PAs. So I'd go meet a PA who was on the other side of a claim, and we would write and agree on a scope and try to hash out the claim for the carrier. And I'd never done anything like that before. I was just a company guy. I was an estimator. That's right. I knew I had a client. I worked for the client. So this opened my eyes to the fact that these estimates I was writing, my company had no intention of doing the project. And that was mind blowing to me. It's like, why would we write estimates that we have no intention of doing?
Right.
And it's for the claims process. It's to fight PAs. And then I said, well, I'm pretty good at writing Xactimate estimates. And looks like some people are willing to pay for this service. Well, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just write Xactimate estimates? And that's where Claims Delegates was born. I said, well, I can just find people that maybe they don't have the acumen, maybe they don't have the manpower in-house, maybe they don't want to go hire an estimator, but they still need Xactimate estimates written. Well, I can fill that void. So right. five years ago, no one was doing this. No one was doing it. And everyone said, you're crazy. And I said, I might be, but I've also been fired 3 years in a row or let go 3 years in a row. So how bad can it get?
Right.
It can't get much worse.
What do I have to lose?
Where's the bottom? Oh yeah, I'm here. So you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We have this fear and it's amazing. The further you step into a fear, the more it just goes away.
Yeah.
You get to the point where what's going to happen? Am I going to die? No, I probably won't die. Am I going to lose my house? Maybe, but that doesn't happen right away. They're not going to come take my car tomorrow. And you start looking at these things that you're so afraid of, when in reality, when you're 4 weeks from broke, you just accept it. And you find a way. At one point, I was 2 weeks from broke. I knew the bank account and my rate of capital burn 14 days, it was going to go to zero. But somehow I always found that next client or that next job or something else, and something worked. But before that, and this is the part that really hit me last night when I was telling this part of the story to Dave and Jennifer. So I'm out on my own, writing Xactimate estimates, and I write them for anybody. I'll write them for a homeowner. I'll write them for a contractor, anybody. Someone out there turned me into the state of Oregon for unlicensed practice of public adjusting. I didn't know what that term was when the state investigator called me.
And hang on, no idea where this report came from?
It's an anonymous process.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So when you want to silence somebody, you turn them into the authorities anonymously.
Right.
The equivalent of being swatted, right? Anyway, I got swatted, and the nice lady at the head investigator for the insurance division of the state of Oregon was very nice on the phone. And she said, well, I'd like you to come down to Salem and talk about your business. And what do? I'm like, sure, I'm going to talk about my business. Yeah, that's my favorite topic. So I get down there, walk into a room, and the nice lady doesn't look so nice anymore. She's kind of stern and mean, and she has another stern and mean looking lady sitting next to her. I sit down, and she slides two things across the table. First one was her badge. The second thing was a tape recorder. And at that point I said, oh crap, here we are. This is real. This is not a, hey, informational thing. This is something serious. And so she asked me to describe my business, what I do.
Right.
And through that process, she stopped me at one point where I had drawn on a piece of paper a triangle. The top of the triangle was the insurance company. Left hand of the triangle was the contractor. Right hand of the triangle was the client. And I described what I do and what estimators do every day of the week in every state of the union.
Right.
We have these negotiations, these unilateral negotiations on one end of that triangle between the contractor, and the adjuster in the absence of the homeowner. I said, we do it all the time. They call and say, we don't think that's a high-grade cabinet, it's a mid-grade cabinet. And we have that back and forth, and we discuss that. And she stopped me, and she said, I want you to be very clear about this. Is the homeowner or the insured present when that happens? And I said, nope. No, they're not. And she said, that's where you're breaking the law. And I said, wait a minute. If I'm breaking the law, isn't everyone breaking the law? And I'll never forget what she said. She said, Mr. McCabe, we're not here to talk about everybody. We're here to talk about you.
So, okay. At what point are you looking at your exits and planning your escape?
It crossed my mind. I was like, how far could I get?
Yeah. And remind me, who are these people with? Are they Department of Insurance? Are they
Department of Insurance?
They have badges?
Oh yeah. She had a badge.
Okay. Enough said.
No stinking badges. So, but she gave me an option. She said, Mr. McCabe, you can continue to do, right now, we're not sure. You're not under investigation. We're not sure if you're breaking the law. I'm confident that if we did investigate you, we would find that you're breaking the law, and we would have to take this to the next level. Or you can go get your PA's license, and I'll give you 6 weeks. And I said, yeah, I'm going to take that option.
Sounds better.
It sounds better. And then, so at that point, I didn't realize it at the time, but I realized it last night when I told this story. I had poked the bear.
Yeah.
And the bear had reacted. I don't know. It was an anonymous bear. I don't know if it was a PA or a claims manager or an adjuster. Somebody turned me in.
Right.
But I had poked the bear. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you the secret of where this is where the rebel movement started, because I liked it. I liked it. I liked having that power. It was just little old me. I mean, I'm little old me in Portland, Oregon doing, I think my first year I did maybe $30,000 in total revenue.
And you're literally at the point in your career where you've gone through these multiple employers, and I'm the same way. I had no judgment. I had, I think, 11 different employers in my 20s alone. So I'm in the same boat. But you're just trying to provide for your family at this point, and you found this little niche that you're really good at, that you know has a need that you can fill, and then the bear gets poked.
The bear gets upset, but I liked it.
Right.
And that's where that seed was planted of, oh. And I went and got my license, and then I was like, yeah, come at me, bro. Yeah, let's do this now. And that changed every conversation with every adjuster from that point forward. It started with, well, are you a licensed adjuster? Well, as a matter of fact, I am. Oh.
Yeah.
We have to take you seriously.
You're in the club at this point. Right.
So I continued doing what I was doing. I tried my hand at actual PA work. I am no good at it. I think, forgive me, all PAs out there listening to this. I think you have to be a big fat jerk to be successful at PA work. It takes that sort of a mentality of being able to grind on people. It just doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah.
So I was not successful at that. All right. So let's let the hate mail begin. That's fine. I can take it. And so I did a whole bunch of other things, but really it came down to, I was really good at estimating. I was really good at hand holding clients and walking them through the claims process. And over the last 5 years, I realized that there's a lot, like we were just talking about before we started recording, there's just a lot of technicians out there that don't know how to run businesses.
Right.
And there's a lot of misconceptions about the claims process. People get into restoration with this misnomer, this misunderstanding of how it actually works. They think, oh, just put it in Xactimate and it gets paid. Well, there's a little more nuance than that. And I was good at helping people through that. But I wasn't good at running a business. I'm guilty of that too. So we got to the point I was operating out of my garage. Accounts receivable was way high. Revenue was way low. Bank account was dwindling again. Once again, 4 weeks to broke. And we just made the call. You know what? Let's go get a quote real job. There's air quotes for all y'all listening in podcast land. And so I shut down Claims Delegates, and I took a job in Bend, Oregon, working for a franchise. And I think this is where the story picks up that you heard before and everyone heard at the summit last year.
And let me ask you, this was how long after that meeting with the Department of Insurance?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're in Bend and you're working for a franchise system.
And this guy wasn't a good fit. The guy that hired me quit 3 or 4 weeks after I got here. We sold our house in Portland. We moved here. We're renting. And November 9th, 2014, my sister-in-law decides to throw my nephew, 6-year-old nephew, over a bridge in Newport, Oregon. And my life stops at that point. Just really stops. As these things tend to affect families in that way. I spent 2 or 3 weeks, the worst Thanksgiving of my life, with my family, dealing with just the initial shock and everything else that goes with a situation like that. Got back to work December. I worked to December 15th, 2014, 5.5 months after I moved to Bend. I get called into the office and he fires me on the spot.
Wow.
So 2 weeks before Christmas, 2014, I'm without a job and my emotional life is in shambles.
Yeah.
And my business life is in shambles because I I turned it off, right? I walked away from Claims Delegates. So probably one of the worst decisions I ever made because it was working. I just didn't have the patience or the intestinal fortitude to make it through that dip, what Seth Godin calls the dip. Great book, and I'll send it to you. I need your address. I think everyone should read it. I didn't have what it took to make it through the dip, so I gave up early and walked away, and now I'm looking at Christmas 2014. Okay, I don't have a job again. Don't have much money again. What am I going to do? Well, I decided to go buy a pair of running shoes and started running.
Why?
Because it was the one thing I could control.
Yeah.
The one thing I could control was putting on a pair of shoes, walking out the door and running. And that started me taking my life back. And what I realized through the process, and that year, I ran the Hood to Coast Relay that year. The next year I did 4 triathlons. And when I started January 1, I started running. I started writing a book. And I started thinking about recording a podcast.
Wow.
By March, I had lost, I don't know how much weight, a little bit of weight. I had my book written and it was published on Amazon. I was selling copies of the book. I was selling copies of the online course that goes along with that book, the 24-Hour Tech. And I had 3 or 4 episodes of the podcast in the can, and people were downloading the podcast. And it's just amazing what happens when you let go of the fear, or you work through fear and say, you know what can I actually control? And you just take control of that and move forward. Go ahead.
So by March, where are you emotionally with the murder of your nephew and the fear of finances? Where are you emotionally in all this?
Not despair. It was tough. It was still tough, very raw, it's something that you just, I don't know how to describe it. I was getting better every day. It's amazing what happens when you don't have much, but what you do have, you have full control over. It's freeing in a way. It allows you to do things that you previously wouldn't have done because they're uncomfortable or there's risk involved. Well, guess what? It doesn't get any more risky than where I was.
Right. So
putting myself out there in a public forum, a whole lot less risky than going broke. Like you said, there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. So that's 2015, 2016.
Well, let me stop you real quick. So
go ahead.
You write the 24-Hour Tech, and this is where I think most people learned of Andy McCabe from.
Sure.
I told you the story a couple of weeks ago. I'm in a diner in Wyoming, and I bumped into a guy that knows you through the 24-Hour Tech and is a restoration rebel. And it's just incredible. I'm in Wyoming. It's crazy.
Tell that little bit of story. Tell what you said to your first words to this guy.
So I'm in this diner. It's a Saturday. I'm with my kids and my wife, and we find this awesome little diner. If you're ever in Alpine, Wyoming, go to Yankee Doodles.
If you're ever in Alpine, Wyoming,
nobody ever. No, if you're in Alpine, Wyoming, you're having a pretty good day. It's a pretty awesome town. But I see a restorer pull up from my hometown, Idaho Falls, and I recognize the name. He's got his kids with him. And that in and of itself impressed me, that here you got this owner operator. He's got his sons along with him on a job site. That gives me the warm fuzzies. But I don't want to be that weirdo that walks up to your table and, sells you something. And then at the same time, understand we're in Wyoming. Everyone in Wyoming is armed to some degree. So there's that in the back of my mind as well. But I go to the restroom as my wife is getting the kids in the car, and I'm kind of working up the nerve on, what do I say? Oh, I got it. So I walk up and I said, hey, I want to ask you a really weird question. And he looks at me like, all right. And I said, are you a restoration rebel? And I get this, yeah, man, are you? So it was great. It was a great intro. I couldn't have asked for a better one.
How did you know?
And so we ended up talking for, I don't know, 15 minutes. He invited me to his shop, and I've made a new friend out of it. So it's awesome. And I've got a little place where I have an outlet for, talking shop and just kind of being back in the day-to-day of restoration operations. I've been removed from that for a few years, and I miss it. But he's one that said, yeah, I know. I learned about Andy McCabe through his book. I bought a couple of copies, and my guys read it. That's awesome. So you've got the 24-hour tech. How did that, tell me more about how that came about and the why behind it.
Well, my online searchings and musings, the overwhelming message was, we all have a story to tell. And whether or not we think we're the experts, we probably are the experts, because we know more about our craft than most people.
Yeah.
And what I just felt moved. All right, I've got to get something out into the world. And I just thought, okay, how can I provide the most value from what I know? Well, through my different jobs, and the 24-hour tech really came out of a moment of frustration when I was working for a franchise operator in Phoenix, Arizona, where they don't have systems. They don't have systems to help project managers and general managers manage mitigation in a functional way. They might now, and no offense to the dashes and the encircles of the world. Let's not start that hate mail chain. Only one chain at a time, folks. But it didn't exist, so I built a system that worked for me, and it worked really well. So I said, well, I already built this. Why don't I just put it out there? It was the easiest thing. It was like minimum viable product, right? MVP. It was a minimum viable product of something I could put out into the world and provide value. And so that was my thought, is, well, it's already written, right? I already had the paperwork. I already had the design in my head.
Right.
All I had to do was explain it a little bit better and make it a little more cogent and cohesive. So that's what it was. And ultimately, I'm getting older, as we've established already, 43 today. I don't want to write estimates forever. I would love to consult and educate and provide even more value as I get older. And so I don't have to spend my time in front of a computer and ruining my eyes. But first, before you do any of that, you need to be the subject matter expert.
Right.
What better way to do that than to have a book with your name on it? That's really what it was.
So what has the feedback been from that book? What are you hearing from people who have bought it, read it, implemented it?
It's great feedback. It's people. I'm not received any negative feedback. I take that back. I've received negative feedback from folks that have obviously not ever read it.
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. And it's funny how all this works, right? I doubled down on LinkedIn way back, right? 4 years ago, I doubled down on LinkedIn. I'm hitting social media. I've got a Google Plus page of all things. I'm just hammering. It's amazing how much some people just want to hate. And whether or not you are good or bad or indifferent, someone is going to hate on you.
Yeah.
That's one of the lessons I've learned over the last 5 years of really going head on into social media is I've got guys that follow me around, and I don't think they have anything better to do. and I started commenting on their negative comments. Wow. One guy was like, this last week, oh, it is all about you. And I was promoting somebody else's book, but this guy had to chime in. Oh, it's all about you, Andy McCabe. And I said, and I just responded back to him. I was like, well, I guess if that's what you think, that's great. It's good to see you again.
How funny. It's when you're brave enough to put yourself out there. Yeah. You're going to attract that crowd. Unfortunately, they're usually small in numbers.
They are.
But
and they go away like bullies. They don't have the fortitude to really stand up, and they don't have a good argument anyway. But that goes back to the fact that it reaffirms that I'm doing the right thing.
I agree.
Not pissing somebody off. You're not trying hard enough. And I love poking the bear, because that shows me it's a complete ego trip. It is. I'm going to just say it. It's an ego trip because I get to have an effect on something that's so much bigger.
And I would say, because I don't know you to be egotistical. In fact, I know you to be way more giving than you probably should be.
Yeah. We can debate that later.
Okay, we'll do that off air. But that's been my experience with you.
Okay, thank you for that.
But what you are doing is definitely, you're taking a lot of the rounds from the enemy, I think, by putting yourself out there. So let's get to, you've written 24-hour tech. At what point do the YouTube videos start popping up?
Earlier than that. I started, if you dive back into the channel, you're going to see some really horrendous videos. But I had this idea. I was going to start this vlog. It was drive time. It was Claims Delegates drive time, and I had a logo made, and those started early because I needed a way to reach my audience in a cheap, i.e. free way.
Yeah,
and I could make video and put it on YouTube for free.
Yeah,
it's cheap. It's the cheapest advertising in the world. And then I could target those videos using LinkedIn or Facebook. And that's where I was getting my clients. The video on Facebook or LinkedIn, where I was getting the majority of my clients. So LinkedIn became an incredible lead source for me. Before anyone realized what it was. And most people still realize LinkedIn is, it's just a resume site. No.
Yeah. Facebook
so much more. Yeah.
So the early subject of these videos, was it more to push the brand and attract clients, or are you beginning to have the conversations that you're having now about the industry?
No, the conversation changed for sure. It was more technical. A lot of just blatant self-promotion of, hey, what's the ROI on hiring an outside estimator?
Right.
Obviously serving. And then something did change, because when you're out here, when you're out on the fringe or the bleeding edge, you're seeing things from a different level.
Right.
I was able to remove myself from the contractor point of view and see over and go, okay, that's not right. Okay, that's not right.
Right.
And I start seeing these things where we live in an industry that is, we are leading lives. And this is the philosophical point that I've reached and why I think I do the majority of what I do. We are leading other people's versions of our lives.
How do you mean?
We are operating in a business environment that we didn't design. We didn't make the rules. We continue to accept rules that other people put on us. We accept their version of our businesses and how we should run them. And when you are leading somebody else's version of your life, whether that's business or personal, you're very limited in what success you can experience. And as long as we have this cloak of, well, this is the way it's always been done.
Right.
I'm going to take what the adjuster gives me. I'm going to ask the adjuster. I'm going to ask the carrier, please, sir, may I have another? We are not operating from a foundation of strength, and we're not controlling our own destiny. We're giving that up. And for too long, we've given it up just freely in exchange for the leads. We're going to give you more leads or whatever else.
But it's safer, right?
It looks safer. It feels safer.
It's more comfortable right now.
But it's not safe at all.
Yeah.
It's a slow grind to the bottom. It's a slow grind to the lowest common denominator, because at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yeah.
where my experience, and I believe your experience as well, John, it's not about the money. We didn't get into this business for the money. We got in this business because we like serving people. That it makes us feel good. We get to serve people every day.
Yeah.
That's the foundation of what we do. I mean, I drive a big freaking white truck with a badge on the side of it. I am literally getting in my white horse and coming to the rescue when I do that. That's right. Why we do these things. But we're not able to design our businesses, for the most part. If you're in the system, you don't have full control to design your business to be customer centric like our mindset is. So if our mindset is customer centric, but the business system we're trapped in is carrier centric, that's where this cognitive dissonance that I've talked about before comes in, and it's just that friction we've got to overcome. And the only way to overcome it, in my opinion, is to get the F out of it.
Yeah. I totally agree. At what point, and I would imagine it's last year, it's 2017, maybe even 2016. At what point are you poking the bear to the extent that other people are realizing it?
It's summer 2016.
Okay.
Summer 2016. And I'm not getting any heat necessarily, except for the trolls. The trolls will always be there. I'm not getting any real heat. What I am getting is a lot of affirmation.
Right.
I'm getting LinkedIn messages. I'm getting emails. I'm getting phone calls from people from Canada. Hey, I watched your videos, or hey, I got the book. I really like what you're doing. Keep it up. And then it became, I really like what you're doing. How can I help? And then in the fall in 2016, I said, well, everyone is feeling this pain. And that was an affirmation point of, okay, I'm not wrong, because this is resonating with so many people. And then I just got called. I just answered, that's what it is. It's as simple as that. I answered a call to action. And I said, okay, let's do this. I don't know what it is, but let's do it. Let's come together, unify our voices, and first and foremost, let everyone else know that, hey, we are all feeling the same pain. It is okay to feel that way. Come home. Over the last year, you know how many people have said, you know what, I finally found my home in the rebel movement. I finally found my home. So January 2017, was it 20? It was either late 2016 or early 2017. I went on Fiverr and had these logos behind me that you can't see if you're listening to the podcast, but they're the Rebel logos.
It's the Rebel logo, yeah.
I went on Fiverr. It was about $45 worth of Fiverr gigs to get where I was. And I went to, I know, right?
Really laying down the big money.
Big money.
Yeah.
And I went to LinkedIn. I put it out. I put those logos out there. I changed my profile picture to the Rebel logo. And I said, are you a restoration rebel? If so, show me. Change your profile picture to this. I didn't know what it was. It just hit me one day that I've got to do this. I'm just gonna do this. What do I got to lose, right?
Right.
Just another post in a mountain of thousands of feeds. No one's gonna see it. Well, a couple weeks later, 100 people had changed their profile picture on LinkedIn.
Wow.
In a public show of support and unity that, yes, I'm a restoration rebel. Where do I sign up?
And then during this time, these people are contacting you, and there's more of that affirmation and sort of conversation about, these things are broken. We need to fix these things.
Yep.
Incredible. So any negative pushback during this time?
It's been constant since it started.
Yeah.
Constant. Well, what are you guys doing? You're rebels. I can't get behind that. Change your name. Right. But it was always a change your name so I can justify to myself to join you. That's always what it was. There are still people that are comfortable where they are. Well, they're uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable enough.
Right.
And the rebel moniker scares them.
Right.
And that's okay with me, because we're going to keep it. We're going to double and triple down on that. And we are going to be the rebels. We are going to be known as the voice. We are going to say the things that people can't say, because politics or situational problems makes it problematic for them to speak out. Guess what? We can do that.
Right.
We can do that. And more than that though, we're holding space. We're holding space for people that are going through a lot of pain and frustration, and we're holding space and we're helping them through that. That's the power of the movement. Yeah. I had no idea. I just said, well, let's just get together. Let's have a summit, because we all know. And what I kind of shortcutted the whole process, because I tapped 2 or 3 of my podcast guests to be members, the inaugural members of the movement.
Right.
I knew their mentality and I knew their point of view, and I knew they were on board with it.
And who were those people?
Kevin Dooley, O.P.
Okay.
Almaraz.
Yeah.
Who else? I'm going to forget somebody, and they're going to yell at me.
When did you meet Clark? I have a feeling he found you. Is that true?
He found me.
Yeah.
You know what? And Clark, we're going to have that. Maybe we'll have a session number 2. I don't remember. I really don't. I just remember he was all of a sudden there. And then it was like a brother from another mother. It was just one of those things where he just stepped in and said, "How can I help?" And I said, "Well, do what you do. I don't know you. What do you want to do?" And he just inserted himself in the most meaningful, dare I say, loving way.
Yeah.
Just an amazing guy. He's got an amazing background, and he's feeling a different sort of pain, but it's very similar, because it's situational frustration.
Right.
He's frustrated by the situation, and we're all frustrated in our different ways by the situation. And now we have a voice, and I'm going to tell everyone out there right now, you have permission to say no. You have permission to stop doing whatever frustrates you or is bad for your business, and do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And what really blew me away was we had 45 people fly from across the country. You drove 10 hours to come to Bend, Oregon.
And let me clarify that, through the Badlands of Eastern Oregon. It's like the surface of the moon.
It is. And to show up, and as Simon Sinek says in his wonderful Start With Why TED Talk, they didn't show up for me.
Yeah.
No one showed up for me. They showed up for themselves. They showed up because we believe what you believe, and you believe what I believe. And them showing up, all you showing up, was an affirmation of what you already believe about our industry. And it was phenomenal. It was just, it's a turning point. So I think most of the people that went there with some idea of what it was going to be came away changed, came away with a very different idea of how this industry can operate, how we can come together. And the four agreements came out of that, of this is how we're going to operate our businesses and our lives. And that's going to be in conjunction with our morals and our standards, not established by somebody else outside of us.
Yeah. I definitely got that from the summit. I've been involved with different, restoration industry events over the years, and both independent and within a franchise system.
Everyone's got a summit. Everyone's got a summit.
Everyone does. And they're usually so stale and so impersonal, and you may pick up a thing or two or learn about a new product. But I remember walking in to whatever microbrewery you had brought us to that first night.
Cascade Lakes.
And
the first night.
The first night, where I met everybody, and I knew you over the phone. I think I knew Clark from Facebook.
Yep.
And that was it. I didn't know anybody. And I walk in, and I pull up in my, I don't know what I was driving. I was driving our family, basically our Pilot, our minivan. I see all these big work trucks, and I walk in, and it was the most welcoming crowd I'd ever walked into. And then I think you lifted me off the floor with your hug.
I might have.
You did.
I've seen you do it.
Yeah. But it was immediately, oh my gosh, we're here to share ideas. And we kind of already knew we were all on the same page. But the openness and the eagerness to encourage each other along and share ideas, I'd never seen anything like it. And then it continued for the next 2 days. That was what was so... I left on cloud nine. I made so many calls on that drive home saying, wow, this is something very, very special.
It was legitimacy. I think people were looking for legitimacy in the movement, and it just solidified it. It's a real deal.
And most of you had come off of working Harvey and Irma, correct?
The most amazing, destructive hurricane season we've seen in over a decade. Oh yeah, we were all coming out of the field. I think I flew from Florida 2 days before the summit just to make it. But we still did it. So that energy, we were all, last year was a weird year. It was amazing, and everyone was busy. And I think that rejuvenates everything that we're doing. Is like, oh, okay, we are needed. We are necessary, and they need us more than we need them.
Yeah.
Whether that's the TPA or the carrier, or even clients, right? They have a need. We have the solution, and we need to keep that in mind, that we are solution providers. We are service providers on our own terms.
Right.
Our terms. I'm trying to think what brewery that was now, and I can't think of it.
The very first night, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's pretty good food.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. So August 2017, how many members does the closed Facebook group have at this point, you think? Is it like 500?
Yeah, 500 or less. Yeah. 500.
And so then after this event, we just watch it every single day. New, more and more members. And then, but at the same time, it's funny looking at the numbers over the weekend. I had actually posted this at the end of last week, the number of new members we had versus the numbers of members that were rejected, right? Because they're not part of the industry, or
they didn't agree to the agreements. Yep.
Right. Didn't answer the questions, or had some kind of off the wall answers. That part's very interesting. That the growth that we've seen just since August, let alone, when did the Facebook group start? Was it January of 2017?
Must have been. It must have been. Yeah.
And it was just you?
Well, it was
just
me
you in a closed group
and some admins. Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Dooley and OP and Tim were invited. I want to say Clark got in there. All right, Clark, I'm going to have to call Clark after this and figure out where that connected. I'm glad it did, though. I tell you what.
For sure. And I can tell you, Clark will be a guest on an upcoming podcast. He's on my short list of interviews. So, okay, we will begin to wrap up.
Sure.
Where do you see us a year from now?
A year from now, I'm just going to go out on a limb. We're going to have 5,000 members. We're going to have a couple dozen local chapters that have come together and reached across the aisle to their former competitors in their markets, and they're going to meet every month or every quarter. We're going to start to roll out the unified structure of how we propose businesses are run. We're going to give a framework for folks coming in to restoration brand new, and we're going to give them a framework to bring them into the fold and operate their businesses in an ethical and righteous way. And I think we're going to be start to get invited to the table with some high level folks. I'm talking about TPAs. Certain TPAs are aware of the fact that their contractors are in pain. They just don't know how to fix it. And I see those conversations starting this year and rolling into next year in a meaningful way, not an adversarial way. I obviously have my opinions on where TPAs are headed ultimately.
We both do.
But in the meantime, we are going to have to work with them. Yeah. And I think we can open some eyes and some hearts to the fact that the current situation is just untenable with all the forces coming against contractors. I met with a franchise guy this morning for coffee. And I said, if I'm an investor and let's say I've got $300,000 to put into a business, restoration used to be a very, very healthy return.
Yeah.
And now it's bad money. That would be a bad choice. Franchise or not, it would be a bad choice to spend that money on starting a restoration company, because in the current environment, the returns aren't there. Now, in the Restoration 2.0 environment, where we know we're headed, where we're trying to mold our members to be the nimble contractors and lean contractors that I believe will succeed there's going to be great money, because we're going to determine our own pricing. We're going to determine our own methodology, and we're going to serve the client at such a high level that it's going to make all the other stuff irrelevant. I'm excited to get to that point where we can start really focusing on the client, because that's the end result is we have to be customer focused. We have to be lean. Mother Nature's throwing 100-year events at us at 3-year intervals. There will never be enough of us. We need to be able to scale, and we need to be able to go back down in a very fluid and dynamic way, which the current style, the word is escaping me, but the current model of restoration, this all-in-one restoration shop, just can't do that as well.
Yeah. So come May 6th of this year, that'll be Sunday. That'll be the Sunday
after
right
the
after
summit.
The summit. What do you hope to have accomplished come May 6th?
That's a really good question.
That's great, because I didn't prepare a single one.
Yeah,
that came to me.
That's a good.
We must be doing something right, Andy.
Well, I want to. I'm pretty sure. So that morning, May 6th, we're going to have a leadership meeting. We're going to have breakfast together, and we're going to celebrate the wins. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to look at the army that we started to build, and I think we're going to revel in that for a day or so.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, it's going to be how do we take this energy? How do we use this energy and keep the flywheel moving? And what does the group want to do next? That's one of the most important things that came out of our last one was the surveys of, okay, This is your group. This is your movement. What do you want to see? And we've implemented some of the things that came out of that. And I believe that at the end of this year's summit, we're going to have groups of contractors that are going to start to show us what it looks like. I don't profess to know it all.
Sure. Yeah.
I have an idea. I do know that the best ideas and the best methodologies are going to come out organically once we get everyone in the same room.
Yeah.
And coming out of this year's summit, all y'all that show up, you're going to be put in a cohort. You're going to have 5 or 6 people it's your accountability group for the next 6 to 12 months to implement the things that you're going to learn. And you guys, it's going to be up to you guys to hold yourselves and gals, to hold yourselves accountable and hold each other up. And these groups are going to be, one person's going to probably have their marketing dialed in, but maybe their operations are not. One person's going to have really good systems, but they have no idea how to go get the work. So I'm excited to see how it works. I don't know what to anticipate. My heart says it's just going to be good, because I believe the vast majority of people in the world are good and they want to do good work. We just got to give them space to do that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to
philosophical on you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what we're kind of about on this podcast that is yet to be named, and yet to really have a presence. But okay, any parting words for the audience? I'm trying to watch the Facebook comments, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Okay.
But there's lots of comments. We can go back through and answer those. But any parting words of wisdom? Hey, it's your 43rd birthday. You've been around a while. Surely you have some pointers you can give us. What are those?
I have a website, andymccabe.com. On that website, and I'm going to, we've got some ideas what to do with that website in this coming year too. But the header says, live your life, live your life, live your life. It's your life. Take it. Don't take somebody else's opinion of what it should look like. Don't take somebody else's opinion of your college major. I wanted to be a biology major, and I was for a year and a half, until I let somebody else tell me, well, you can't make any money in biology, right?
Go get a marketing degree.
And I got a business degree because everyone hires a business. Yeah, I have a BA, right? Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
My heart is still in the woods. My heart is still, I wanted to be on a boat, helping whales. I have no idea but that's where my passion lies, is out there. Not business. So live your life. No one sits on their deathbed and their dying breath saying, man, I wish I would have worked at another Saturday, because that would have made my life complete. Most people say so much wasted time. I wasted so much time on things that in the end did not matter. This matters. The space we're holding matters. The people in this group matter. The people you love matter. Focus on that, and everything else, it will take care of itself. It's scary to do that. It's the whole Jesus take the wheel, right? It's scary. You don't want to give it up. But trust in you. Trust in your inner voice to lead you in the right direction and live your life. That's that on my birthday.
Well, Andy, I appreciate you taking the time out of your birthday and being vulnerable and being a visionary for us. I certainly appreciate it. I know everybody else will, who watches or listens. So I appreciate that. All right. Well, we'll wrap up. You hold the controls to my podcast.
Oh,
and your pop, is it? So is birthday well wishes, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, thank you, folks. We will be back next week. The goal is every single week you will get a new podcast. We'll separate the audio from the video so you can just listen to it as you drive, or watch it like I do most of my content in bed as I'm falling asleep at night. So thanks for joining. We'll have a name next week too, hopefully.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to seeing this develop and seeing what you come up with, John.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care.